just in case you're not familiar with the Stray Kids, I know y'all are familiar with the Stray Kids, but just in case, they have sold about 30 million records on the album, and they have performed in 35 cities 56 times on a world tour.
Wow.
They set a record, and they also perform on a dream stage of K-pop idols, which is like there is SoFi Stadium in LA.
SoFi.
So I mean, they're like a groundbreaker, record breaker. They're like beyond just K-pop idol right there. So they have actually came up with a movie called Stray Kids, The Dominate Experience, and it'll be revealed on 4th of February, and it'll be revealed to the international fans on 6th.
Wow.
I have a question.
Well, I mean, like,
concerts? 쉽지 않았던 길이었고.
so that's part
Show
of the movie
them
right there.
what they really came for.
Good morning.
Let's go! So, well, like its title, well, this is definitely about Stray Kids. And like I said, every K-pop idol dream to be on the stage on SoFi Stadium in LA, in America. And they have sold every single ticket. They have sold out every ticket. And this movie depicts of their journey to the stage of SoFi Stadium right here.
And as we see here in the trailer, it's not just about their performance footage, right? There is a storyline there, right?
Well, it covers Jam, Chick Chick Boom, Megaverse, Mirror performances on this movie, but not only just performance footage, but also it covers a very, very exclusive interviews of the members. So, I mean, there are 8 members of interview are considered to be very genuine and humane aspects of the members. So, I mean, I am so willing to watch it as a stay.
Yeah, me too. I mean, the glamour on stage and the sincerity behind the scenes, and sounds like we get to experience both. And I've heard that there's a special way to watch this film, right?
That is right. So I am so excited to introduce all these movies, and I'm also very, very recommending y'all to try all these movies on February because they are guaranteed good, because they are gonna speak.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. Like in February, we gotta go cinema to check all these movies out, right? Okay, and let's figure out the Konu's picks, okay? So from BTS Gwanghwamun comeback news to delicious winter foods and films, that music that truly move the heart really makes me feel like it's satisfying all the 5 senses here, right? And we hope the wide range of K-culture issues Prince Konu shared with us today brought some positive energy to all of our crunchers. And thank you, Prince Konu, as always.
Prince Konu on duty.
Yes, a great pleasure to meet you today. And with that, we'll sign off with our last song. And here is 다음에 또 만나요. See you again. Bye, cheese. Keep crunching.
안녕.
안녕.
All right.
Okay.
유난히 이끌리던 미소였죠. 그대의 목소리 입술 그때 그날 모든 장면이 날 흔들었죠. 그댈 바라볼 때마다 내 시계가 고장나나 봐. 어쩌면 나만 모르게 우리 것처럼 아무 말 하지 않아도 우연히 다시 만날 수 있다면 어느새 어두워진 그곳에서 인사해요 한 번 더 굿나잇 그댈 바라볼 때마다 내 두 볼에 해가 뜨나봐 어쩌면 그대 모르게 나만 알고 싶은 이유 때문이죠 즐거웠어요 그대도 즐거웠죠 우리 다음에 또다시 볼 수 있냐고 묻는 아쉬운 말에 우리가 서로 운명이라면 만날 수 있겠죠 즐거웠어요 그대도 즐거웠죠 우리 다음에 또다시 볼 수 있냐고 묻는 아쉬운 말에 우리가 서로 운명이라면 만날 수 있겠죠 이만 줄일게요 그대도 즐거웠죠 다음엔 날 놓치지 않길 기대해요 혹시 몰라요 우리가 정말 운명이라면
How to survive in Korea. Weddings. Step 0. Attire. As a guest, dress formal to business casual. Avoid wearing all white, shorts or going topless. Step 1. Arrival time. Arrive 30 minutes prior to the wedding ceremony. Too many cars, too many halls, too many people. There are many twists and turns. Take pictures and shake hands. And write your name vertically, not horizontally, in the guest book. Step 2. Or, shibor. 50,000 won, 100,000 won, 150,000 won. Cash gifts are given in these units. Decide on the amount based on your relationship. Write your name vertically on the envelope. Step 3. Wedding etiquette. Fill up the front row. Guests have 3 duties to fulfill: clapping, cheering, and taking pictures. Step 4. Dining. Take off your jacket. This will be your seat from now on. Start with the not your everyday delicacies. Kobe-jjim. Yes. Bosa. Yes. Chili shrimps. Definitely yes. Kimbap. Yeah. Only if you can't live without it. No need to pile up food. You have more than one opportunity. Did you survive the wedding? Wait. Did someone catch your eye? What are you waiting for? You're looking fine today.
over the world. Local consumer prices continue to hover at the 2% rate in April.
Turning to robots to allow the visually impaired the chance to better indulge in cultural experiences. Like the number of hybrid cars are registered in South Korea has surpassed 2 million using its locally developed Yuri rocket.
Arirang.
Introducing Korean broadcast content that you won't be able to stop watching. For weary modern souls, Dr. Romantic, the quirky genius doctor of Puldam Hospital, prescribes heartwarming tales of humanity. A couple together for 7 years sees their rose-tinted glasses shatter. Can they keep their relationship alive? Discover the raw stories of youth, work, and love. Beyond what social media can show, experience the vibrant Korea through its hidden gems. Mama, the ultimate K-pop festival for global fans. Find your star in a feast of trendy music and electrifying performances. Now, the whole world enjoys it together.
U.S. President Donald Trump has once again threatened to raise reciprocal and auto tariffs on South Korea from 15% to 25%, blaming Seoul's legislature for not implementing a deal struck in October. A senior Pentagon official, the Undersecretary of War for Policy, Elbridge Colby, is currently in South Korea to discuss defense cooperation with Korean officials, including the nuclear power submarine program. Amid widespread outrage following the fatal shooting of 2 U.S. citizens in Minnesota, the Trump administration says a border czar will be sent to the state this week to lead the immigration crackdown and meet with local officials. Hello and thanks for joining us on Arirang News. We begin with U.S. President Donald Trump announcing he will impose higher tariffs on South Korea, returning to the 25% level before the allies' trade deal. Trump said he was raising the tariffs as he was unhappy about the deal's slow passage through the legislature process in Seoul. The top office is closely following this. For more, our Blue House correspondent Yoon Jung-min is on the line for us. Jung-min, how is the top office responding?
Eunji, we believe a response meeting is being held at this hour led by Policy Chief Kim Yong-bum. Relevant government ministries and aides are reportedly at the meeting. We expect they are trying to learn what's behind Trump's message and how to respond. President Trump posted a social media message this morning saying that he will raise auto tariffs and reciprocal tariffs on South Korea to 25%. Up from the 15% agreed under the two countries' trade deal. He insisted that Korea's legislature is not, quote, living up to its job of implementing the Korea-U.S. trade deal reached last October. But at this moment, we're not sure if he's complaining solely because of the legislative process or if there are other reasons beneath the surface. Seoul's top office said it was not given an official notice or explanation on the matter. Last October, Presidents Lee Jae-myung and Trump reached a trade deal under Washington's sweeping tariff pressure, with Seoul pledging large-scale U.S. investment in exchange for lower tariffs. The joint fact sheet and an MOU were announced in November, following which Korea's ruling Democratic Party put forth a related bill. The bill is currently being reviewed by standing committees at the National Assembly. The Blue House also said Industry Minister Kim Jong-kwon, who's now in Canada for a business trip, will fly to the U.S. soon as possible to meet Commerce Secretary Howard Lutnick. Back to you, Eunji.
All right, Jung-min, thank you for the update. We appreciate it. And at the National Assembly, both the ruling Democratic Party and Maine opposition People Power Party have responded to Trump's surprise tariff announcement. The DP has said that it'll respond cautiously, emphasizing that the agreement between the two countries did not include a fixed timeline for parliamentary approval. The party said that the agreement was based on the introduction of legislation rather than completed ratification, while adding that 5 bills related to Korea-U.S. investments are pending at the relevant standing committee. On the other hand, the PPP placed full responsibility on the Yi administration, arguing that they had ignored the need for parliamentary approval of such a major trade deal. The PPP further denounced the government for failing to notify the National Assembly about the ratification process and called for an emergency parliamentary inquiry. Meanwhile, President Lee Jae-myung has pledged to correct what he calls a distorted allocation of resources in South Korean society, driven by an excessive concentration on real estate. Speaking at a cabinet meeting this morning, Lee warned that the unchecked expansion of so-called unproductive real estate fuels asset bubbles. He has repeatedly warned that leaving speculative real estate investment unaddressed will drive up prices and deliver shocks to the domestic economy. Stressing the need to pursue relevant policies in a consistent and stable manner, the president made clear that he's not considering extending the suspension of the heavy capital gains tax on multiple homeowners. The tax suspension is set to expire on May 9th. Meanwhile, the U.S. Undersecretary of Defense for Policy, Elbridge Colby, is currently visiting South Korea, having had talks with key South Korean security officials, including the foreign and defense ministers. Our Kim Bo-kyung tells us more.
Elbridge Colby, U.S. Undersecretary of Defense for Policy, met with South Korean officials on Monday to discuss key issues regarding the ROK-U.S. alliance. According to the Foreign Ministry, Colby had a meeting with Minister Cho Hyun, expressing appreciation for South Korea's commitment as a model ally to playing a leading role in the defense of the Korean Peninsula by strengthening its own defense capabilities. He added that the Department of War will actively play its part to ensure that key agreements reached during the 2 ROK-U.S. summits that took place last year are swiftly implemented. Minister Cho, while agreeing that last year's summits achieved significant results by setting a mutually beneficial and forward-looking direction, underlined that the cooperation on nuclear-powered submarines would enhance South Korea's deterrence capabilities and contribute to the alliance as a whole. Following the meeting with National Security Advisor Wi Sung-rak, Colby held talks with Defense Minister An Kyu-baek on the same day. While underlining that South Korea is the first destination of his first overseas trip since taking office in April last year, Colby stressed that he would continue efforts to strengthen defense cooperation with South Korea. Both agreed that South Korea's nuclear-powered submarine program would boost the military's leading role in the defense of the peninsula while serving as an important milestone in elevating the ROK-U.S. alliance, and that the two sides would maintain close coordination. Minister An further stressed the importance of the transfer of wartime operational control to realize a South Korean-led defense posture and called for enhanced cooperation. Meanwhile, during his speech at a forum at the Sejong Institute, Colby said that President Lee Jae-myung's decision to increase defense spending and to assume greater responsibility for the country's conventional defense reflects a clear-eyed and sage understanding of how to address the security environment. Colby is scheduled to depart for Japan on Tuesday after wrapping up a visit to Camp Humphreys, the U.S. military base in Pyeongtaek, on Monday afternoon. Kim Bo-kyung, Arirang News.
In the United States, as public outrage continues to grow in Minneapolis following the shootings of 2 U.S. citizens by federal forces, President Donald Trump says he will be sending his border czar to the city. Protests have been intensifying across the area, with witness accounts of a fatal shooting contradicting the Trump administration's official narrative. Our An Sung-jin has the details.
U.S. President Donald Trump stated that he will dispatch White House border czar Tom Homan to Minnesota. This comes as tensions escalate following the killing of 2 people during protests against federal immigration raids. On his social media, Truth Social, on Monday, Trump wrote that he will be sending Homan to Minnesota, adding that he knows and likes many of the people there, and that he will report directly to Trump himself. Homan oversees border security and immigration enforcement. Trump's decision to dispatch Homan follows criticism of the enforcement tactics used by Greg Bovino, the U.S. Border Patrol chief leading immigration operations in Minnesota. According to sources from AP, Bovino and some agents are expected to leave Minneapolis as early as Tuesday. This comes after Alex Preddy was shot dead by a Border Patrol agent in Minneapolis the day before. Federal authorities described Preddy as an armed agitator, though witness accounts show Preddy was holding a phone.
Nobody in the White House, including President Trump, wants to see people getting hurt or killed in America's streets. Saturday's shooting remains under active investigation by Homeland Security Investigations and the FBI.
During the same press briefing, Leavitt stated that Trump talked with Minnesota Governor Tim Walz, who has been critical about the administration's immigration enforcement policies. The two allegedly had a very good conversation and appeared to share similar thoughts and perspectives. An Sung-jin, Arirang News.
Over in the Middle East, Israel says it has recovered the body of the last Israeli hostage in Gaza. U.S. President Donald Trump credited Hamas for assisting in the return of the body, but says it must now follow through on its commitment to disarm. Our Lee Seung-jae has more.
The Israeli military said Monday that it had retrieved the body of the last remaining Israeli hostage in Gaza. The body is that of Master Sergeant Ron Gavili, who had been missing since the war began and was the final unresolved hostage case under the current ceasefire agreement with Hamas. Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu called the recovery an extraordinary achievement, saying it brings closure to a painful chapter for Israel. The return of Gavili also brought relief for his family members.
Yeah, we feel relief. We came home, and it's the best thing that happened to us. Thank you very much.
The military said it began searching a cemetery near Gaza City early Sunday after intelligence was clarified over the weekend. A senior military official said the cemetery was located near the so-called Yellow Line, an area still under Israeli control under the ceasefire terms. Hamas's armed wing said it had provided mediators with detailed information about Gavili's location, allowing Israeli forces to narrow their search. Hamas spokesman Hazam Qassem said the discovery confirms the group's commitment to fulfilling the ceasefire agreement, adding that Hamas continued to update mediators until the remains were recovered. President Trump also confirmed Hamas's involvement. In an interview with Axios on Monday, Trump said the search and identification of the body was extremely difficult and that Hamas made a significant effort alongside Israel to determine the location of the remains. He called on Hamas to now follow through on its commitment to disarm. Meanwhile, Israel says it will reopen the Rafah crossing between Gaza and Egypt in a limited capacity later this week. Officials say the reopening of the crossing and the return of Gavili's body were the final major hurdles in phase 1 of Trump's plan. Attention can now fully turn to the second phase, which involves demilitarizing Gaza and establishing a new governing authority and security force for the territory. Lee Seung-jae, Arirang News.
As part of a special coverage on how Korea-France relations have evolved over the past 140 years, Arirang TV sat down with a leading foreign policy advisor in Paris for an outlook on how bilateral ties should develop. Here's our Oh Soo-young with more.
Seoul and Paris must make their partnership instinctive and institutional to jointly counter global challenges. That's according to Arnaud Levaux, a French foreign affairs advisor and academic leading the Asia Centre. His remarks come as South Korea and France mark 140 years of diplomatic relations, at a time when both countries face mounting geopolitical challenges, particularly in the Indo-Pacific.
In that sense, the France-Korea relationship can become a testing ground for a new kind of partnership between middle power democracies, one based on realism, sovereignty, and shared responsibility, not only on ideology and not on dependence.
America's demand for its allies to increase their own security, regional economic coercion and tensions over trade, minerals and emerging technologies, the prolonged war in Ukraine and North Korea's partnership with Russia are further changing and merging strategic calculations for East Asia and Europe.
For France, it's like we need more and more partners like Korea, because Korea understands deterrence, credibility and long-term pressure, because South Korea live with it every day. So I will say that France and Korea share a very pragmatic view on security. Both countries know that peace requires strength, but also self-control. So I will say strength without provocation and firmness without escalation.
From military and industry to technology, space and supply chains, Levaux believes potential for deeper partnership lies in both national and economic security and new strategic domains where larger powers are competing for dominance.
The first one will be maritime security and the protection of global commons, meaning that both countries, South Korea and France, depend on open sea lines, freedom of navigation, and stable maritime space. So we can think to go from joint naval exercise to information sharing. But France and Korea can do much more to protect the rule-based order at sea, not against anyone, but to guarantee the stability.
France's foreign ministry says around 30 bilateral dialogue channels already exist across diplomacy, defence, economy and science. However, the professor says an instinctive trigger for cooperation is currently lacking.
Both countries share democratic values, a long diplomatic history, and strong people-to-people ties. But I will say that maybe strategically, the relationship is still under-institutionalized. There are a lot of cooperation, but there is no strategic reflex yet. And what I mean by co-constructions, maybe it's to work for joint ownerships in terms of industry, technology, security, normative projects, maybe for instance in AI regulations, but also in the development of defense capabilities, cyber resilience, supply chains and standards.
Going forward, Levaux hopes to see tangible progress at the next Leaders Summit expected this year.
A meaningful outcome of leaders' meeting will be the elaboration of a shared strategic framework, one that defines clear priorities to identify concrete projects and create continuity beyond political cycles. And so I will say we need more symbolism and more architecture.
Officials say Seoul and Paris are moving to deepen strategic cooperation through high-level talks between foreign ministers and possible reciprocal visits by Presidents Lee Jae-myung and Emmanuel Macron. Oh Soo-young, Arirang News, Paris.
This is The World Now, bringing you everything you need to know from around the globe. A ferry sank off the southern Philippines early on Monday, killing at least 18 people. Philippine Coast Guard officials report the ship carrying more than 350 passengers encountered technical trouble and tilted over before taking on water near Basilan Island. Rescuers pulled 317 survivors to safety and recovered 18 bodies. Navy ships and aircraft are searching for roughly 2 dozen believed to be missing. Authorities have launched a full investigation to determine the exact cause of the disaster. In the U.S. state of Maine, a private jet crashed during takeoff on Sunday, killing 7 people. The Bombardier Challenger 600 crashed amid a massive winter storm at 7:45 p.m. on Sunday at Bangor International Airport. 7 of the 8 on board were killed and 1 was critically injured. Investigators are now expected to closely examine the plane's de-icing process and try to confirm why the plane failed to clear the runway safely. Bangor Airport said it will stay closed at least until Wednesday. Gunmen in Mexico's central Guanajuato state killed 11 people and injured 12 others on Sunday following a soccer match. According to authorities, the armed attackers opened fire on a post-game gathering in the city of Salamanca. Salamanca's mayor said the motive was not immediately clear and called the attack cowardly, adding that a woman and a child were among the injured. The state attorney general's office promised a thorough investigation. State police have reinforced security across the area as they hunt for the perpetrators responsible for the attack. The European Union has launched a formal investigation into social media platform X following reports that its AI tool Grok had generated non-consensual sexualized deepfake images. Brussels said it will examine whether X met obligations under the Digital Services Act to limit illegal content risks, including manipulated sexually explicit images that could amount to child sexual abuse material. Regulators also widened an existing probe into X's recommendation systems after the platform said it would use Grok to help decide which posts users see. Chu Ji-hyun, Arirang News.
Cold air from the north is keeping winter firmly in place. The cold stretch is lingering longer than we'd like. Well, it's not as harsh as last week, but it will still be very cold, especially across the central regions. Mornings will get colder as the week goes on, and highs will also stay below freezing through Friday. At the same time, eastern regions are seeing no improvement in the dryness in the air. Parts of Seoul are also under a dry weather advisory, and with strong winds continuing day after day, it's raising wildfire concerns. Please manage any fire sources carefully and stay alert. And as winds pick up, it's going to feel colder than yesterday afternoon. Seoul will be getting up to just -2 degrees Celsius, Daegu topping out at 5 degrees under sunny skies in most parts of Korea. Temperatures should return to season norms over the weekend, and next week we'll finally get a break from the deep winter chill.
That's all we have for today's noon edition of Arirang News. Thank you for watching. We'll be back at 5 p.m. Korea time. Stay tuned.